Hello and welcome to Who Is Best, a show where I, Claudine, take games that give you choices and rate those choices in a tier list. Octopath Traveler was a surprise hit for the Nintendo Switch, and its sequel, Octopath Traveler 2, was no exception. Taking what they learned from the first title, the devs created an instant masterpiece, one that gives you, once again, 8 travelers. Each of these characters come with a set job, and later in the playthrough you can give them a sub-job. Now, anyone who has played and optimized Octopath Traveler 2 will know that there isn't a single character in this game who can't be broken. That being said, there are objective facts that make some party members simply better than others. Anyway, you know the rest. We're going to find out which characters are best for your playthrough. And stick around till the end where we'll reveal the best sub-job for each character. We'll start with the tier. Oswald is one of the more setup heavy characters in Octo 2. If you build a team around setting up his damage, then he'll be a halfway decent DPS. He is one of your best casters, but physical damage in the late and end game completely trumps magical damage. On top of that, his break skills are worse than most other party members. The best thing I can say here is that Oswald is a great top tier early game character and has a great enemy analysis ability. The low tier. Manos is Oswald's superior, though he is also very setup heavy. He is a focused healer with decent breaking abilities. In the early and mid game, Manos will be up there, but he'll fall off later in your playthrough as many other characters overshadow his abilities. What truly kept him from the tier is how exploitable his latent power is. Given the Scholar subclass, he'll be your main healer and breaker. Agnia is one of your main buffers. Not just that, but with the right build, she can nearly be untouchable with her incredible evasion potential. Though niche and situational in her usefulness, being able to avoid damage while buffing the party is incredibly handy. Similar to Manos and Oswald though, her biggest weakness is that in the late and end game, she'll lose out on some usefulness, as many other characters will surpass her. Alright, let's move on to the mid tier. In the early and mid game, Particio will be a disgustingly broken BP battery. Donate BP can turn a DPS into a boss slaying machine. On top of this, he is optimal for mob clearing and farming during this time as well. Aside from obtaining and gifting BP, the only way Particio becomes viable in the late game is if he's given a class like Arcanist. Utilizing Arcanist, he can use skills like Diffusion, Rest, and Sidestep to become a decent end game support. His late game drop isn't because he won't be useful, but because other party members will replace his utility as they will gain BP battery abilities as well. Ochette's usefulness bounces around throughout your playthrough. In the early game, she'll be useful, but not amazing. In the mid game, she might just become one of the better party members in Octo 2. And as you enter the late and end game, with a lot of preparation, she can be viable. Grinding with Light Revenant early on will devastate almost any enemy in the mid game, and the levels will pour in. With her prepare ability and latent power, she can pretty much replace Agnia in support, and using Provoke Beasts, she can become the single best breaker in Octo 2. Like I mentioned, in the late game, she won't be as useful as some of our top tier members, only because catching rare monsters can take a lot of time and setup. But overall, Ochette is an absolute beast. The top tier. Throne absolutely shines in the late and end game. Her latent power is one of the best in the game, and her EX skill can wipe bosses off the map. With Throne, you trade the tankiness of Hikari for speed, which makes her squishy but also gives her extra turns. Disguise can be used situationally and isn't always useful, but with the right build it can be interesting. Her debuffing is absolutely broken in the late game, and her damage rivals Hikari's. All things considered, though she will lag behind in the early game, Throne is an epic character to take along on your journey. Hikaru does almost everything better than any other character we've covered so far. He can tank, is one of the better DPS, is great at breaking the enemy, and requires little to no setup from other party members to reach his full potential. Hikari's effortless damage will reach top tier levels in the mid game and steadily increase from there. Throw on some incredible learned skills like Limb to Limb, Boost from Beyond, Merciless Blade, Last Gasp, and Divine Protection, and you have one of the most versatile party members in Octo 2. The God Tier. Casti breaks Octopath Traveler 2 with her Concoct skill. Given late game material, she will make beating this game a breeze. Concoct literally does everything from healing HP and SP, to buffing party members, to breaking and debuffing enemies. Her BP generation is limitless and her poison damage is absolutely insane. She'll cover all your support needs with a single skill. Ultimately, the only thing she might get passed up in is straight up damage, but that's debatable. All in all, I don't think many people will argue the fact that Casti is straight up the best party member in Octopath Traveler 2. Now, as for each character's best subclass, we'll go in order of the tier list. Oswald should be given the Cleric subjob, which will give him immense elemental coverage. Manos needs the Scholar subclass to hit his top DPS potential. Agnia should be given the Inventor, which will upgrade her buffing and debuffing abilities. Like I mentioned, Particio should be given the Arcanist class, which turns him from a top mid-game party member to a late-game party member. Ochette should be given the Warrior class, which will improve her physical damage and weapon versatility. Throne should be given the Dancer subclass, which will increase her buffing, debuffing, and damage abilities. For Hikari, you'll want to give him the Arm Master to make him a God tier tank and DPS. And finally, Casti should be given the Cleric subclass to finalize her top role as a support unit. And that's my list. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and thank you to all my Patreon members. If you'd like to become a Patreon member and request your own list, check out the link in the description below.